And we're on, my friend. It's a fucking huge honor. I mean it. First of all, I'm fans, and there's so much good news. We're gonna talk about that. But for people that don't recognize you, who the hell are you?
Max possessed Cavalera.
Max, welcome
Um,
for the first time to PPR. It's a huge honor. I mean, I've been following every project since I was born. In a way, I grew up listening to you, and the nostalgia is so important now. So seeing you getting back to those crazy album that had such an impact, not just for some people, for the whole metal world. It's crazy. You guys gonna get back to two album that I'm sure was important for you. But how this crazy idea to do it with your brothers and say, okay, let's do this. We're gonna go. You did the Roots album. We're gonna go back. Before that, how that crazy how it started up.
so yeah, I mean, we're not doing in any specific order. Like you said, we did the Roots first, and Roots was a just really a huge success, and it was fun, and we really enjoy it, and it was something that we realized that me and Igor realized we can do this, man. This is actually real fun. This is we get a chance to relieve um, the past, but also to just really have fun and pay good homage to these records, which are really they're sick records, man. They should be heard, and a lot of people want to hear them with the original drums and the original voice, man. There's no replacement for that. So because of that and the feedback we got from first the Roots tour, when we actually did Beneath the Remains and Arise, we did it in Europe and we did in South America, and people lost their minds. It was great. It was like, you know, I don't know, like somebody put me in a time tunnel, and I'm back in 1991. Man, it was crazy. Um, but it just sounds great because we got, you got better sounding stuff these days. Like the amp sounds better, the guitar sounds better, but the feeling is still there. That metal feeling, that the raw the raw thing you get when you play those songs, that's immortal, man. That's forever. That's always gonna sound killer. And we just really enjoying it. We got some sick players. We got Daniel from Possess doing the leads, and Mike from Soulfly doing bass. And yeah, so we're just gonna come to your town and give you a little bit of taste of what was like in 91, what was metal like in those years, and we get to relive them now, which is freaking awesome.
It's cool because first of all, there's a lot of fans that wasn't there. I wasn't there in 1981. I discovered Sepultura with the Ozfest tour in 1996. I was there in Quebec when you did the whole Roots. And it blew my mind. It really changed my life. I mean, I know Sepultura. I love the band, but seeing you live, it was something else, something so different, and something that it's so strong. And for fans like me to be able to see those records that forged the timeline for Chaos AD and Root, really blow, like it was an international success in a way, and it was. And but Beneath the Remain, what's the first step following the first records? How did you feel at that time? Did you feel that there was something happening for you guys? There was something maybe more than you expect at the when you started up?
Well, we had to. It was like it was kind of like do or die, like break or make it type record. It was like because we just got signed. Before that, we were all on um, independent labels in Brazil, but this was our big chance. Like kind of like that one chance you have to grab it and make the best of you can out of it, and we did, man. We I mean, we work our asses off on that record, and it shows. I think like you see the growth from the last record, which was Schizophrenia, and it was always interesting because Sepultura is really musically the story is quite cool because we started very underground black metal, the early stuff, Best of Devastation, Morbid Division, just very drenched into the black metal sound of that era of the 80s, and it was all about the Battery and Venom and Hellhammer, just pure caveman raw. I love those records, by the way. But little by little, we got a little better at the instruments. Everybody, got better, and we make Schizophrenia, which was a step forward. But we needed to really step up. You needed to like everything had to be going right. So I think it happened, man. I'm super proud of this record. Uh, there's some crazy stuff about this record that I never done before. Like the record was recorded at night. It's a nocturnal record, and I
Oh
never
wow.
done one. Yeah, I never done one ever. It was the first one, and it was only one. It was recorded between midnight and 7 in the morning.
Yeah, it must be a hard experience in a way, because you really push yourself mentally, but physically too.
Oh
And like
yeah,
you're all there to do something, an achievement with the records, to do something more and something that wasn't done out there. And it's such a beautiful thing. And, I think we're slowly get back at this with metal. The new generation trying to find new path, new sounding, something different. And I think that's the beauty of those time. Everybody was giving 200%. It was, like you said, it was a matter of life and death.
yeah. I mean, I myself, I always record a record like it was like a matter of life and death. Even today, it's always like that. It's like you go in there and you just gotta do it, give it all. Like don't leave nothing behind. But this record in particular was very very special because of that. I mean, it wasn't by choice. It was by force. We couldn't record during the day. There was a pop band in the studio during the day, so we had to do graveyard shift, nocturnal. Uh, and I think there's something psychologically cool about that. Because of that, this record is so raw. Because we were on that crazy state of mind of starting to work at midnight. So you kind of like sleep most of the day, try to at least, and then getting ready to start making noise at midnight. About 3 or 4 in the morning is when you're hitting hard on all cylinders. And then the session is over at 7 in the morning, and then you go back to the hotel and then catch a little bit of sleep. So it's a crazy schedule. I never done one since that. It was I actually should do one of those now. It'd be cool. It'd be awesome. Um, just a lot of coffee. But it was like that though. We had a couple things were different. We had a producer for the first time, Scott Burns.
Yeah.
We never had that before. So all the older stuff was recorded with Brazilian guys that didn't know metal at all, and they were like asking me to turn off my distortion pedal, and I'll be like, "No, man, we need this thing. This is like the buzz saw. We need that." And I remember my brother telling one of the engineers, the guy asked you, well, how do you want the drum to sound? And he said, my brother said, I sound like can you make it sound like a huge building being demolished, you know, be imploding, like a big building. And the guy's like, no, I don't know how to do that. But it was with Scott, it was great because Scott had the knowledge. He had a little bit of experience. He was working at Morris Sound. He already recorded Obituary. He already did some death recordings, some Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
And and Scott was a cool guy because he comes from the punk rock uh, world. Scott is a huge old school punk rock fan of like Black Flag and Circle Jerks, all that, Dead Kennedys, Bad Brains. So he would he would try to get that raw energy from us, even though we're playing metal. I think there's an attitude on those records that is very punk. You know, it's
Yeah,
very like it's like no
yeah,
bullshit. This is it. You know, it's raw. It's in your face. It's in your face. Especially Beneath the Remains. I mean, Beneath the Remains is even more raw than Arise. Arise, I think maybe songwriting is a little better, but as far as like the raw, pure, savage, raw sound, uh, Beneath the Remains got it, hands down. We nail it, and working with Scott was good because he knew about how to record fast double bass, fast parts, make everything sound good. So we just really like trusted him and just make sure the songs were good enough, which they were. You know, they were really strong songs, and there was you know, on these records there's a couple classics that will be forever classic stuff like Inner Self, the Beneath the Remains, Stronger Than Hate, um, Primitive Future. Those are just awesome songs, man. That I love this stuff. You know, it's kind of like we figure out like by accident. I think we decided to mix the best of what we like in death metal and the best what we like in thrash metal and hardcore and put those three together, you know, in the best way possible. Because it's not death metal and it's not thrash metal and it's not hardcore, but you can hear pieces of those three things all over the place. And that's what's cool, I think, about this record because it really touches on three very cool subgenres of metal that are very powerful. Like today, I think it's more divided. You got death metal, oh, it's only death metal, you know. You got thrash metal, it's only thrash metal. Um, and back then, it was kind of like on the verge. There was a couple bands doing that a little bit. I think like Dark Angel
yeah,
was doing something like that. Even if you listen to old Possessed, is very trashy. Some of the riffs are very trashy. So we were listening to a lot of that for inspiration, and a lot of hardcore Discharge, and we always loved the UK stuff, you know, Discharge and
age.
GBH Exploited, and even the Finnish stuff, Ratos and Tervet
Yeah,
Cadet. You know, that shit was great. It's really fucking powerful, raw. You know, um, that was mostly me and Igor. That was our take on it. Um, and then you mix a little bit of some of the trash stuff we listened to back then. There's a lot of some really good. Nuclear Assault was really making good records at that time, and Exodus, of course, and Testament. But yeah, I think the magic about this record is actually those three genres together. That's what makes those records exciting, I think.
yeah, and it really proved that you know your scene, you know, not just the metal scene, but the punk scene and the other stuff. You know, it showed that you were really open mind to music, and I think it's an important element when you want to, you know, to make your band move to other, you know, level. Because you know, if you copy a band, you're just a copy of a band. But if you copy every band, you know, you're somebody that know music, and that's the thing. Because you're right. You know, I think that the first wave of metal has a lot. You can compare a lot to the first wave of punk rock. You know, it was surviving. It was music that parents fucking ate. Kids love it. It was new. It was exciting. It was dangerous. You know, everything was
Yeah,
there to create something that's gonna stay because, like, it's a struggle. It's art. If it were easy, everybody would have a metal band back in the days, but it was not. And that you figure out that you mix all those styles together to bring something, you know, with your own ID, with your own personality. I think it was why Sepultura was so well received in that album too, and you know the fans love it. I heard so many times, when they gonna play fucking Beneath the Remains, you know, and they will not, because it's not the same band. You have to go see Igor and Max, and you will have this. And I remember the first time I listened to Arise, it was on a cassette in high school. I was my first year in high school. Before I saw the Roots, was a guy that made me a copy of the tapes. I didn't pay it,
Yeah.
and it
Hey.
blew my mind. It really blew my mind because, like you said, every element was there. I was listening to punk rock and hardcore and thrash metal and some dark metal, and everything was there. It was like every cool element of everything combined together. And that records is kind of it's a masterpiece. Arise is a fucking masterpiece. You know, it's Chaos 80 that leveled it up to everybody now knows Sepultura. But I think that Arise was should have been the one in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think is uh, you can see the influence on a lot of parts of the songs. You know, like if you break down Inner Self, it's a good example. Um, so the main verse riff is very trash, feeling like it comes from trash metal. Uh, but then you have the chorus, hardcore chorus. It's like a discharge. That's discharge. That's three chords. That's like a discharge three chord thing. Uh, when you put them together though, and then you have just add a little bit of double bass, and then you have a breakdown that's beat suicidal tendencies. Yeah, man, shit, that shit gets that hits hard. And then, like I said, Arise is actually Beneath the Remains 2.0. You know, it's like, okay, we did it. How can we make this even better? Like this, we realize this works. This formula works. Mixing metal, mixing death metal, thrash, and punk. Yes, it's definitely great. Now let's take one step further. Let's make some great songs, and the songwriting's got to be even more fire, more higher. You know, so. Um, but all the ideas continue. You know, um, especially to me, songs like Desperate Cry and Dead Embryonic Cells, which was the first video. Arise to me is the ultimate death thrash song of all time. Uh, you know, people can try. They might not. You might not agree with that, but you have to just to listen to that song and just go, holy shit. You know, this is fucking cool. This is like ahead of its time, man. Those riffs together with that power drumming, um, and catchy parts like I see the world old, I see the world dead. You know, yeah. I think that era was really exciting because there was a lot of really really good stuff coming out, and and we were just really uh, sponging from everything that we could, you know. So we listened to a lot of hardcore, but then it was also the beginning of grindcore movement,
Yeah,
Carcass, Napalm Death, Carcass, and Godflesh, and whole earache stuff, and bow thrower and entombed, of course. Oh my god, I remember listening to entombed first time and just going, yes, yeah, this is what's happening right now in the metal. We need to do some stuff like this. So there's a bit of entombed influence on Arise as well, that I'm very proud of it, especially on the fast parts. Um, and that's the thing, man. You mix it. So the record is not all fast, but it's not all mid tempo. It's mixed. So
Yeah.
many songs have many parts, and that's cool. I think people sometimes forgets about that, and they either just make the whole song fast or is the whole song is mid tempo. You gotta mix both. You gotta put both together and see what happens. Uh, and I think also Arise. I would say one more thing that have made the record be what it is touring, because we did just an amazing amount of touring for Beneath the Remains. We went to America for the first time. We went to Europe for the first time with Sodom, and we didn't know we had fans. It was we. I remember we pull up in Vienna,
There was no
first
internet,
show.
you know.
Yeah, there's no internet, so you don't know. I look outside I look outside a bus, and there's like hundreds of metal kids with Sepultura shirts. Like, yeah, it's happening. We have arrived, man. Because before that we were popular in the underground Brazilian scene. We heard there was some talk about us in Europe in metal magazines, Kerrang and Metal Forces, but we didn't know what to expect. So when we got there, it was like this shock, like holy shit. Um, and they ate it up, man. Our set was just pure energy. I remember we opened with Primitive Future, so it's like, oh shit, you can't. When you open with a song like that, it's going down. There's nothing you can do. So it was a great experience, and because I think of the traveling, and we see in Europe for the first time, we see in America for the first time. I don't remember if we went to Canada. I know by the time of our rise, we definitely went to Canada. But all that traveling also inspired the record. So um, you know we got really inspired. So we realized, okay, this is working. People love this Beneath the Remains record. Brother, um, out of the whole thing, those are the two that are the mostly similar records. Uh, Beneath the Remains and Arise, they're very similar.
You're right. You're right. And the thing is, it's crazy when you look at this because you were in a rush of doing something with Sepultura, bring it to the world, and you didn't realize that you begin to be the most biggest beast in Brazil, and that was crazy. I mean, there was no pop artist who got out of Brazil at that time. There was no punk artist. It was Sepultura. It was you guys that put Brazil in the map and show that the culture there is really strong, and the whole world was excited about that. And that's a crazy thing. And when I speak to my friend from Brazil, they're all like, man, Sepultura was so massive at that time.
Yeah, what was cool about was kind of like we were always um, popular in the underground. But like still the major magazines and major radio station, they still ignore us. Like they we didn't matter. And it was not until we play Rock in Rio that was like the release of Arise came together with our Rock in Rio show. Um, that people realized that first Brazil realized the thousands of fans. Sepultura is massive because it was packed. It was a big football stadium. We play early and it was packed and people were going nuts. Um, and then the other thing that happened, a lot of Brazilian press, they will watch us be in the charts in England. Sepultura was before them. They couldn't believe it. Like, what the fucking shitty Brazilian heads, those shitty metalheads are they're in the charts in the UK. That's crazy, you know. I think that gave us a little bit more respect. You know, we
Yeah.
start to be more respected, and eventually those magazines start to interviewing us. But it was a tough road for many years, especially the first record. We were I remember reading shit like the worst band you ever gonna hear, Sepultura. Yeah, and that was actually printed, you know, in a newspaper. You know, uh, there's two ways to look at that. Yeah, it's bad, but it's so bad that's good because because if somebody say you're the worst thing in the world, you want to go see the worst thing in the world. You know? there's
Hey,
there's curiosity in there, man. It's like I gotta go see this worst thing ever. You know, this it's gotta
like
be the worst thing in the world. It's gotta be good.
yeah, like those shitty horror movie you just start to watch and you're like, ah, that sucks, but there's something in it, and you watch it the whole thing and you enjoy it. But that was not the case. That's just pure fear, you know. Those journalists don't know a shit. And I fucking hate them. I never got why they took time to destroy something. Just don't write about it if you fucking don't like it. That's it. Write about something that you enjoy, that you love. Help them out. Be PMA, positive mental attitude. Van Brain said that, you know, and I think that as journalists
Yeah,
should do that. And I will never write something bad about a new band and destroy them at the beginning when they can make mistakes. You know, it's I don't get it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was actually it was more like we used them more like ammunition. You know, like okay, you know, good. Keep talking shit. The more shit you talk, the stronger we get. You know, type mentality. You know, you gotta have that tough skin, man. You know, you gotta be able to
It's true.
look at the bad negative criticism, turn that into something positive, and that was the trick, and that's what we did. And then those records, by the time our Rise came out, we were we were just too strong, especially overseas. That Brazil was like, yeah, we have to embrace them. You know, that's like we. How can we not? You know, and then became like almost kind of ridiculous, which is like the Roots record, right? So when Roots came out, Sepultura was the most popular thing in Brazil,
Yeah.
but was kind of strange because was I think there was some people were just kind of say they like it because it was like trendy to say that you like Sepultura, you know, not because you really liked it. It was like trendy. I have to say I liked it, you know, and I felt that I don't know, like uh, some of those guys were not real fans, and but yeah, I think the real fans got it. They understood what we were trying to do, and I love the record. I think it's a very controversial record. There's people that hate it. You know, there's people that absolutely hate Roots, and there's people that love it. You know, it's a very divisive record. Um, but regardless of that, I think we were a band that took chances. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
cool. I mean, it's kind of like it's fearless. You know, we could have just stayed in the same road, safe road, and just be safe. Would have been fine. But to me, as a musician, now it's boring. You know, like I wanna challenge myself. You know, okay, I can do this, but what else can I do? What else can I improve? Or what else can I touch on it that I have not done it yet? And okay, you go do that. So that's where the record like Chaos AD were born, like with that mentality. And then of course, Roots was like that, and Soulfly one also part of that.
Yeah.
But but regardless, if it wasn't for Beneath the Remains, none of those records would have existed. That's why I think Beneath the Remains is very special. Um, if he would have done, if Beneath the Remains was a shit record, if he really would have been lazy and just wrote a shit fucking record with crap songs and not heart, without heart, that was it, man. We would have been back to obscurity. Nobody, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Oh,
It would
yeah,
have been,
that's
it's
what I've
a
got in mind.
it's
But
a
you're
done
right.
deal. It's a done deal, you know. So that's why it was very like a do or die kind of record. And I think those are, I think sometimes that's the best work you make is in those kind of situations where it's like, uh, yeah, almost like if I fail this, I'm done. I cannot fail. You know, failure is not an option. That we should have that sticker in the studio. You got to read that every day. You know, uh, but at the same time, we didn't know we were making a masterpiece. None of that shit. That's all bullshit. If anybody tells you that we went in the studio thinking, yeah, we're making a masterpiece, fuck you. That's all bullshit. We we had no idea. We were just trying to make a good record that we are proud of it. You know, that our fans will be proud of it. Um, how they became so popular and they are looked at today as very important records for the scene. That's amazing. That's great. I love that. But we have no idea we were doing that. Zero, zero. Yeah, yeah.
But you take
Just
risks, and I
it was
think
really survival. You know, survival like the mentality.
and more risk you put in it, and more complicated it is, more challenge yourself. It's I think that's when it bring more people, and I think that's what happened. And with Chaos AD and Roots, everything was in place for the explosion of Sepultura at that time. Because when you heard the story behind Roots, you're like, those guys are crazy. Like, it's gonna take forever to do a record like that, with going with some tribe out there and trying to learn new thing and get in their mentality, get back to that crazy records. And then when you look at it, you're like, if we know what we will get through, we will never do this. But we didn't know, so we went on, and that's it.
And that I always believe those are maybe your best work is like that. You know, is when you actually you it's a bit like blind faith. You know, it's like you're taking the step. You don't see the stair, but you're climbing anyway. But you don't really see it, man. You know, you're just going with it. You're going with emotions and yeah, and you're just making mistakes and learning from them as much as you can. And but yeah, but I think that even to me, even beneath the remains, it's there's a fearless thing about it. Was like um we gotta mix these styles, and most of the time we didn't know that people gonna like these three styles together. Nobody has a crystal ball.
Well,
um it's like
we
say
have
like
some shit.
hardcore fans, death metal fans. So this record is respected by all these genres of subdivisions of metal. If you talk to any death metal uh, guy, he loves Beneath the Remains always. Because even though it's not entirely death metal, there's enough death metal there to make you fall in love with the record.
You're right.
And then
You're right.
the same goes with hardcore, and the same goes with thrash. There's enough of those three styles all over the record to make you appreciate what the record does. And I think in general, the entire package was fantastic. The cover was amazing. Michael Whelan, you know, I discovered him in a bookstore in Brazil, and that was good. He did amazing artwork for us.
You,
Uh,
you went to a bookstore, he was there, you size drawing, and they're like, man, we need you.
It's just like that. Yeah, I bought the book actually. It was uh, it was actually Lovecraft
Oh,
stories,
cool.
and he did the illustration. And we didn't know nothing about this guy, so I just sent it to Roadrunner. Like, okay, I have this book and I have this guy's name. I think he's great. I think he'd be really cool. So they contacted him, and yeah, he was available, and he already had made the painting for Beneath the Remains called Nightmare in Red. So it was already painted. So the second time we worked with him was Arise, and Arise is actually more for us. It's designing it like for us with elements um, of all different kind of things. But I remember one of the things about it was instead of a brain, it was an egg, and I had to tell him, I had to talk to him on the phone and ask him to change the egg because I told him egg is not very metal. Egg is like, you know, egg is what you eat on breakfast. That's not metal. Uh, so I was like, can you put something else besides an egg? And he tried to convince me, like, oh, yeah, have you seen Angel Heart? You know, talks about the egg being the center of the soul, and all. I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not having it, man. No egg.
This is
The,
so funny.
the thing, the thing already looked like a seafood nightmare. You got all these lobster claws. If you look at the Arise cover, it's a
Yeah,
unique, very strange cover. All these claws and looks like a seafood nightmare. And but I always love the detail, man. There's a little Stonehenge guy in the little Stonehenge, and there's like all these weird skulls and bridges. You could spend hours looking at the cover. That's what's cool.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
that's it's like the Iron Maiden album cover. It's like how
Yeah.
many hours you stare at that thing for a long time. Um, so yeah, so I think the Beneath the Remains package was great. Um, it looked cool. The back cover was a cool shot of us in Rio by the water. Um, so yeah, when you put that with the music, it works. There's something about it that came at the right time. When it was released, created also created this big curiosity. People were like very curious about who are these Brazilian guys. I gotta listen to this shit. Because Brazil before that nobody knew about Brazil in
Oh,
metal. It's
it's
like,
true. It's true. It was more about the drugs than the music.
yeah, drugs, crime,
Yeah.
and then the other side, carnival and beautiful beaches, and girls in bikinis and this kind of shit. But we live in the other side of Brazil. We rarely saw that side. For us, it was like hard side. So we wanted to show the world like a little bit what Brazil is really like, and so that's why some of the songs talk about that. Like Inner Self is a bit about Brazil. It's a bit about São Paulo actually. Um, and then we start getting even more involved in. I think by the time we did Chaos, we had full-on songs about Brazilian issues, like Manifest is about a Brazilian riot in a jail. Caiovas is a instrumental, but it's about the tribe that committed suicide instead of them give away the land to government. So more and more Brazil became involved in our stuff, and people loved it. I think Europeans and American and Canadians were interested in Brazil. We made
Yeah.
that possible. And it was cool. It was cool to see that. Not, I mean, it was used a little bit like a gimmick, but it was done right. It was not like a pop fake gimmick. It was like a true. It was like a true gimmick. It was like true.
It was pure.
People were actually really exotically excited about us, especially on Beneath the Remains when it came out. I was like, Brazil has a metal band. Oh, I gotta hear this. So it's like today when you hear like there's a Pakistani band or band from Iran. You want to hear it. It's like because those are not common places for metal. So but there are bands on those parts of the world as well. But today is different because of the internet. You can find everything on the internet. We didn't have the internet back then, so it
So
was
it would be.
much harder.
It's true. It's true. It's crazy, Max, to talk about those, that period. It's so cool. I know after Roots, everything went down with Sepultura, but you stick to it. I'm sure it was such an hard time, and there's a lot. I'm sure there's still a lot of pain, but you said, "Fuck that! I'm gonna do Soulfly. I'm gonna still make music." And look at you now. Doing whatever the fuck you want, being still there, still creating music with your brothers. I want to congrat for that. You stick to it, and I think you have that
Yeah.
force that few musicians have. When you've been through that, it just make you stronger.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And like I said, at this age in my career, to be able to do both things, because I go one foot forward with new things like Go Ahead and Die with my son Igor.
Mm.
I love doing that. It's old school. It's great. It's just pure fun. And then I have Killer BQ, which I love very much. And of course, Soulfly's got a new album in August. And so there's things going forward. But I also have one foot in the past that I get to enjoy the fruits of the labor. You know, yeah, you work hard for those records, and you have to enjoy them. There you go. Yeah,
Do you remember that they
yeah, yeah,
gave that to HMV back in the days? It was released on April 21. That was the demo of Eye for an Eye.
yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That was a good campaign. They did it, and yeah, I think Soulfly came out swinging, man. The first record. I love that first record. I see. Um, that's one record that I might be the hardest record to make, the most difficult one to make. But in a strange way, it's probably some of the best stuff I made too because of that. It's a strange record, but um, yeah, we came out kind of like a lot of curiosity. The people were like, a lot of Sepultura fans were like, let's see what it is. I don't know. Like, and the minute they heard Eye for an Eye, it was like, oh, yes, yes, I'm on board. This is good shit. This is good. I'm with Max. This is cool. Um, and that felt good, man. Because when that record, right before that record came out, I was very nervous and very anxious. But it worked out good. And like you said, like nowadays I get to do both things. And yeah, I think the best thing is to have all these projects. That is the coolest thing because I get to jump from one to the other and just really enjoy them as much as I can. And they all have different vibes about them that I like it very much. All different, and but it always go back to Beneath the Remains and Arise. It's always fun to play that, man. And I'm so glad that we got a killer band to do this with. So of course Igor on drums, but also having Daniel is an amazing guitar player. He is really just as old school as you get. Um, and yeah, Mike is a great bass player, so it's perfect. It's a perfect lineup. People who get to hear the song, they get to feel it. They're gonna feel the songs the way they should.
We're gonna wait for that tour in the whole Canada, but Quebec, Montreal,
Yeah,
and Quebec City, we're ready. We're gonna wait, and show started up again since that bad pandemic. People are going crazy, and I'm sure you're gonna have the time of your life. People go check the date, of course. If you can buy merch, help them out, and we want to see you in Quebec, Max. We miss you a lot.
Thank you, man. We'll be in Quebec soon. Thank
And thank you for your generosity. Last time we met with us, the Rock Fest, we were talking with, I think, the guy with Obey the Brave and the Spice Icon. And man, you're a gentleman. You've always been generous with me, and I appreciate a lot. I had a fucking blast today.
All right, man. Yeah. Good to talk to you, brother. I'll see
And
you
see,
next time.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
See you in Quebec. All right, my brother.
Cheers, Max. Thank you.
All
Bye.
right.